Have you ever looked back at a relationship and thought, I did everything right and it still fell apart? You showed up, you stayed calm, you forgave him, you were patient, but at some point you realized you were the only one doing any of it. You weren't in a relationship, you were holding the relationship together. And that's not a connection, that's overfunctioning. If you're new here, I'm Davina Dandridge, author of Brains and Baubles Do What Works for You, and creator of the Emotional Sophistication Map. This is Brains and Baubles Live, where women with vision learn to think clearly, lead emotionally, and stop curating everyone else's emotional experience but their own. And today we're getting honest about love level 4, that quiet, exhausting place where high functioning women become the emotional engine of the relationship. They run it. Just so you know, I'm not a therapist. I'm not here to diagnose anything. I'm a woman who's sophisticated, who's lived this. I've mastered emotional intelligence in the real world, and now I share what I know with women who are ready to become who they've always wanted to be. Because here's the truth: sometimes doing too much doesn't look like desperation, it looks like excellence. Yeah, it looks like showing up early, remembering the details, and being emotionally available and supporting him emotionally like it's your job. And the world will praise you for it until it burns you out. Being the strong one in the relationship is lonely. You're the one who knows what to say. You diffuse conflict. You bring the emotional clarity. You do the things that work, even when no one is even checking on you. And after a while, it becomes your identity. You stop asking for what you want and start managing what he needs. That's not a relationship, that's emotional labor. And it's disguised as love, but it's not true love. In psychology, overfunctioning is exactly what it sounds like. You take on more emotional responsibility than what's appropriate for your role. You become the translator, the fixer, the feeler, the planner, and you start to believe that the quality of the relationship is your responsibility. And it's not your responsibility alone. Let me be clear, that's not emotional maturity. There was a time I didn't even notice that I was doing it. I remember saying, this is just how I love. I'm going to give it my all. Because what I meant was, this is how I stay chosen. I'd show up with solutions, de escalate his stress, manage my own expectations, and then pat myself on the back for being so composed when I did it. But let me tell you something, I learned the hard way. If your peace depends on staying unbothered, you're not at peace. You're emotionally silencing yourself. Matthew 11:28 says, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Rest isn't about sleep. It's about emotional alignment when you are constantly adjusting, you're holding back, you're clearing up emotional messes that aren't even yours. They started happening before you even met this person. So you're heavy laden. You're not being loving, you're being overworked. And real love doesn't require you to be exhausted. Here's how it starts: you tell yourself, well, I'm being understanding. I don't want to be too much. Or I'll wait for him to just figure it out. But what you're really doing is pre managing disappointment. You're rehearsing the loss that you're going to feel sometimes later on. You're emotionally downsizing to keep someone else comfortable. And when you do that long enough, you start calling emotional imbalance a testimony, almost as if you're bragging about the stress that you're feeling in this relationship. You know what? God doesn't test you. That's you refusing to change the terms of what you will tolerate. Look, you can't keep trying to earn reciprocity through performance. Respect doesn't come from how hard you try, it comes from how clearly you decide what you won't take anymore, what you won't accept. I had a woman tell me, well, he's been trying. He just doesn't know how to love someone like me. For real. But what she really meant was, I don't want to admit that my capacity to love in this relationship is being used as a substitute for his. She had to become so good at giving grace that she forgot to give herself the clarity that she needed to operate as her full self in the relationship. And you know what I told her? Grace without boundaries is self abandonment. You're not required to bleed for someone to believe that you're real. I want you to sit with this. Where in your life have you confused emotional excellence with emotional overextension? What relationship are you managing right now? Who are you carrying emotionally so they never have to notice what is costing you? I want you to write that down and be honest, because your clarity doesn't start when they change. It starts with self awareness. It starts when you notice what you're doing in order to feel safe in this relationship. Here's an action that you can take this week. Ask yourself 3 self gut check questions. Number 1, am I the only one adjusting? Are you the only one that's making changes so that this relationship can flourish? Number 2, would this relationship survive if I stop leading the emotional dynamic? Number 3, do I feel more rested or more responsible after we have one of those heart to heart talks? Because sometimes you're forcing this talk and he has nothing to give. If you can't answer yes to at least one of those with peace, you already know what season you're in. It's not a season of growth, it's a season of overfunctioning, and you need a reset. If this video made something click in you, like the video so I'll know. Drop a comment. And in the comment, tell me, where have you been doing too much and calling it love? And if you're ready to make decisions from alignment instead of exhaustion, take the emotional sophistication map. It's the clearest tool I've created for helping women name their patterns and change their emotional strategy. You don't have to shrink for your emotions to be kept. You don't have to overgive to be valued. You don't have to do emotional gymnastics to be chosen. You just have to stop outsourcing your emotional safety to people who never asked to be responsible for it. And that's not bitterness, that's structure. And structure is what emotional empowerment stands on.